Hi everyone, my name is Dhanoa. I'm a third-year emergency medicine resident at UCSF, and I serve as the Digital Products Manager at the Acute Care Innovation Center at UCSF. I want to thank you all for giving me the opportunity to speak on our most recent project, improving access to clinical guidelines with focus on the end user. And before I get started, I want to say a special thanks to our team members, Dr. Stark, Dr. Peabody, Dr. Singh, and the amazing medical students, Neha and Hope, who were instrumental to this project. And I would like to state that I have no disclosures. So starting off with a little bit of the background, clinical guidelines are often established and used in the ED to standardize patient care, support clinical decision-making, and ensure quality and safety. In theory, this sounds great, but what we realized at San Francisco General, our county hospital and level 1 trauma center, was that these guidelines were rarely being used. We were averaging approximately 4 users per month on the cloud-based system where the guidelines were housed. Our team wanted to figure out why this was happening and how this problem could be addressed. So the first thing we discovered was that there was a lack of standardization. A lot of the guidelines developed for use in the ED were in collaboration with other departments, and this led to a wide range of formats being used, ranging from text-based files to tables to visual flow diagrams, and all of this led to a lack of consistency in how the guidelines were presented to the user. Additionally, these guidelines were located on a cloud-based system that required an additional login, and the poor accessibility problem was further compounded by poor organization of the files. So talking to the providers at our hospital, we quickly figured out that these two factors, poor readability and poor access, directly affected the rate of use in a busy, fast-paced ED. So we set out to address the problem with these two objectives in mind. Create a standardized process to design and display user-friendly clinical guidelines, and optimize guideline accessibility to increase usage during patient care. In order to do this, we assembled a team of designers, medical students, frontline clinicians, and hospital leadership with the hope of creating a standardized process for converting and displaying clinical guidelines to optimize and maximize the end user experience. So we wanted to rethink the design and the way the guidelines were presented. Our team utilized end user feedback and found prior literature that stated flow chart algorithms are uniquely suited to hospital guideline communication. Our team came up with a few qualities that became the backbone of our design and presentation process. So the first step was to simplify. This meant taking old guidelines, condensing them, and eliminating text where possible. So this led our team to distill more than 50 multi-page guidelines into smaller, high-yield documents that could then be displayed on a single page to optimize usability on a busy shift. The next step was to organize. We wanted to organize the information in the guidelines in a succinct manner. In order to do this, we created templates that could be used to help present the information in an easy-to-follow manner. So the two templates shown here are the single-step protocols and the multi-step protocol with branch points. Different guidelines were better suited for different templates. We also standardized the use of color to indicate acuity and urgency of each step. The final product was a simplified, color-coded guideline that was displayed on a single page. Here is an example of our ketamine sedation guideline. This was previously a 3-page document, now condensed into a single page. For guideline creation, we used Google Slides for ease of adaptation. We employed a rigorous change control process to ensure redesigned guidelines retained clinical integrity and were approved from ED leadership before they could be utilized. After figuring out the design process, we tackled the next part of the puzzle, improving accessibility. So guidelines were uploaded and displayed on EDrive, a centralized online mobile-friendly clinical information hub. This site came about early in the COVID pandemic that exposed weaknesses in our ED's clinical information distribution system. Previously, we were getting multiple emails a day to inform us about the status of PPE and the latest recommendations on how to care for COVID patients. So this site was initially created to keep clinical information, especially as it pertained to COVID, in a centralized location. But it was quickly broadened out to include other critical care information. This site was created on an unorthodox web hosting platform, Drupal, and that was available for use via UCSF, so we were actually able to create EDrive with minimal cost. As we worked to incorporate guidelines onto EDrive, ease of access was one of our top priorities. When the site layout was designed, clinical guidelines were organized by first broad categories, which included pediatrics, geriatrics, trauma, medical, as you can see on this page. And then these pages had further subcategories with the associated guidelines listed there. In this example, you can see that you can get to the C-spine clearance guideline within 3 clicks from the original page. This was our goal, to have any guideline readily available within a few clicks. And more importantly, no login was required to access these pages. Additionally, we've added a search feature that allows you to now search files with keywords associated with specific guidelines. And using Google Slides as our guideline creating platform and Drupal as our web platform has allowed our team to respond to end user feedback and update information with a very short turnaround time. So now, where has this led us to? So prior to the EDrive launch, our old system averaged 4 users per month. Since EDrive launch, we have seen an exponential increase in guideline usage. In the more recent months, we're averaging close to 750 users per month, nearly 180-fold increase compared to our old system. After launching EDrive, our team conducted a survey of 110 clinicians in our ED with a response rate of 47%. 96% of the respondents strongly agreed that EDrive has increased their access to critical care information. 70% strongly agreed that EDrive helped increase their self-perceived efficiency, and 78% of the users find the platform easy to access and navigate. In summary, we have been able to successfully employ a design and change control process for standardizing guidelines and an unorthodox web platform to significantly increase providers' access to critical clinical information. That is all the time I have. Thank you for listening. Please reach out if you have any questions.